Good morning, Year 3. This week we're going to be learning about weight, and today we're going to be reading some weighing scales, looking at scales and trying to work out how much those objects weigh on the scales. But first we need to think about what we actually measure weight in. What do we measure the weight of something in? Well, we measure it by using grams and kilograms. And it's really important to know the conversions between different units. So we have 1,000 grams makes 1 kilogram. 1,000 grams makes 1 kilogram. So if we know that 1,000 grams makes 1 kilogram, then 2 kilograms must be 2,000 grams. And 5 kilograms must be 5,000 grams. And obviously then we can compare the weights of different things. I have two objects here. This can is 400 grams, whereas this pot here is 100 grams. So we know that the one that is 400 grams is heavier. But today we're going to be looking at different scales. Now I've tried to draw these as big as I can to make it easy for you to see. I'm just going to move it ever so slightly closer now. Okay, so I have some scales here. Obviously we need to look at the numbers on the scales, and we need to look at what units we're measuring in. So we're measuring in grams here, and it's going up in hundreds. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So this black arrow is pointing straight to the 100. So we know that that must be 100 grams. Over here though, it's a little bit trickier. We have a blue arrow and it's between 400 and 500. It's right in the middle between those two numbers, and there are 100 between 400 and 500. So half of 100 is 50. So right in the middle between 400 and 500 would be 450. Now in your activity today, most of the first page is all in grams, and it would either be pointing straight at a number or maybe between two numbers. So the first page on your sheet is very similar to this activity. I'm just going to run round to this side. As you move on in the activity and the second page, the numbers get a little bit trickier. Again, we need to check what we're measuring in. So this scale here is showing us in kilograms. And we don't have all the numbers. We have 10, 20, 30 and 40. So we need to work out what these arrows are pointing at. Now we can do this a couple of different ways. Between 0 and 10, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5 numbers. So we could do a division. We could do 10 divided by 5, because that's the number that we have here, and we have 5 spaces until we get to 10. So 10 divided by 5, how many 5s are in 10? Well, there are 2. So each one of these must be 2. We could do it that way. In class, though, often people will just try different numbers sometimes to see if they look right, if they will be right. So maybe it's going up in ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Well, that can't be right. Maybe it's going up in 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 10. That can't be right. We can try different numbers, and then we might try 2. We'll start at 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then we would know that we know what the scale is going up in each time. That's so important, knowing how many it is from one line to the next line, because then you can work out what those missing numbers must be. So we did this one together then. 2, 4, 6. So that arrow is pointing at 6. Now we know what it's going up in all the way around. So hopefully we could fill in all of those missing lines in between. You can go from 10 here, 12, 14, 16, 18. 18 kilograms. And the same over here, we've got to 30. So one more jump would take us to 32 because it's going up in twos each time. It won't always be going up in twos. It could go up in twos, fives, 20, 25. That's why you need to have a look at the scale, look at the numbers that you have got and see what those jumps are going up in to get from one number to the next number. Let's have a look at this one below here. This one below. Again, this one is in grams this time. This is in grams. It starts at 100 and ends up at 200. So we have 100 grams between them, 100 numbers. But we have some missing lines again. We need to work out what those lines are. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 jumps. 5 jumps to get from 100 to 200. So we have 5 jumps to get across that 100. So again, we could do a division. We could do 100 divided by 5. How many 5s are in 100 to get 20? But again, if you're not as confident with your divisions, you can just try different numbers sometimes. Like I said, we could see, is it going up in tens? 110, 120, 130, 140, 200. That can't be right. Again, we could try a different number. 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. So again, now we would know that that is 140 grams because it's going up in 20 each time. 120, 140. And finally, another example at the bottom. I'm just going to move the screen down a little bit. We have another scale. Again, this one is in kilograms. And it's just going up in ones. But this time the arrow is pointing between two numbers. And the reason I wanted to show you this one is because you might write your answer in 2 different ways. So it's between 1 and 2. So it's 1.5. So you could write 1.5 if you wanted to. I think one of these other 2 ways would be better though. You could write it as 1 kilogram and 500 grams. So it is 1 whole kilogram and then half a kilogram, which is 500 grams. Or you can write it as a decimal if you're confident doing that. 1.5, 1.5 kilograms. Just like that. So today, for your activity, I'm just going to move it back up again. We can complete this first side of the sheet where all of the answers are in grams, reading the scale really carefully. We have then, hopefully you can have a go at attempting some, if not all, of the scales on the back, which is slightly trickier because you have lots of those missing lines that you need to fill in. And do look carefully to see if it says kilograms or grams. And if you finish all of that, if you work quite quickly, you can then go onto My Maths, and I've added 2 activities, one for comparing mass and one for units of measure, both related to what we are doing this week on weight. So if you finish both of those things and you've still got a little bit of time or you want another extra challenge, I've added 2 activities to everybody's My Maths page that you can attempt to solve as well. Remember, if you are unable to print the activity, you can just write the answers straight into your book and just look at the questions and the scales on the screen. And if you have any problems, I'll be available for about half an hour on Google Meet. Thank you for watching, everyone.